Hello, hello. Hello to everybody joining. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing the Book Troop and the Literally Dead book club for the month of August. And this month we have read A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing. Ooh, look at
We all
that.
got it.
We've all got it. And so if you're joining us, we are currently live streaming on both my and Kayla's channels simultaneously at the same time, which
Hopefully
is
it's working.
cool. Hopefully it's working all right. Which is exciting. This is the second time that we've been able to do this, combining our book clubs for one live show. So that's pretty cool. I'm so glad that you were all able to maybe read along with us this month, but if you weren't, that's okay. Because for the beginning, we'll be doing a brief little spoiler-free hangout sesh if you're just here for vibes. But yeah, so just to introduce ourselves, yeah, if you want to put in the chat, if you want to put the little flower emoji if you've read the book, and then a heart if you haven't read it, just so we can get a visual on who's all here to hang out and who's here because they've read it. And then while you're doing that, we'll just go ahead and introduce ourselves for anybody here who doesn't know who we are. Deja, if you want to introduce yourself first, since you're our guest.
Yeah, hi, I'm Deja. My channel is Deja's Book World. I read mostly horror, thrillers, and romance. And I know Kayla said that we can mention a recent
Please.
favorite. And I feel like I haven't been reading that many good books lately because I've been in a slump. But All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, 8 down. That's my favorite book of the year.
I've
I
heard
love
such
it.
good things.
I know, but it's very triggering. So be careful. There's a lot of heavy, dark content, but it's just so good. Like Sean just knows how to write. We're on a first name basis. Sean Andre Cosby.
I was
We're
like, who?
locked in. We're locked in. No, once I reposted him on my story and he didn't even view it, it made me sad. But
No.
but we're besties. He just doesn't know yet because that book was phenomenal.
Oh, did you like Razorblade Tears?
I did,
Because that was one of my favorites.
but I feel like All the Sinners Bleed is like more up my alley than Razorblade
Yeah.
Tears is because I know people don't like detective perspectives, but I do.
Oh, okay.
And so I really like that one. I always say it's like if Sean wrote a Karen Slaughter book. That's what it's like to me.
That's true. Yeah, I can see that.
All right. We've got a good mix of hearts and flowers in here. I think a good amount of people have given up on it. I actually just put a little poll for ratings on my channel, so I'll tell you the percentages in a minute.
Nice.
I guess I'll introduce myself. I never introduce myself because it's usually my own live show, but like I'm on Gabby's channel, so I will. Also, you might notice Lexi's not here. She is having some internet issues. She said she might be able to hop on like midway through if it comes back on, but she is not in control of that. So we miss her and we love her, and we have no idea what she thought of this book. So that's killing me. What do I say? Okay, I'm Kayla. My channel is Books and Lala. I feel like a mix of everything except less and less thrillers and mystery every year because they just don't typically go well. But I will say, getting to talk about my favorites of the year so far, it has been The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, which is one of our book club selections for the Literally Dead Book Club. And then I also am obsessed with everyone in my family has killed someone. I don't think it's for everyone. I would recommend it to a very specific group of people, but I'm obsessed with it. And so those are my favorites.
Nice. My name is Gabby. My channel is Gabby Reads. I read primarily thriller, horror, and romance are like my big three genres. But I do read a little bit of some other stuff, but I'm not too much of a fantasy or historical person, but otherwise I read pretty much across the board. And I think same one of my favorite books of this year is The Writing Retreat. That one I almost like wish that I had it as a book troop pick because I'm like that's like my favorite thriller that I've read so far this year. But then also like in terms of like horror books, I think the book Any Man by Amber Tamblyn is like my favorite book that I've read so far this year. It's like a really hard hitting. That's another one that you might want to look up trigger warnings because it's pretty intense. But I think that one is probably my favorite of the year so far, just because it's so well written and it was just very impactful, I guess. So yeah. Sweet. Well, so if everybody wants to just let us know your rating, how you felt about this book, and if you want to just do like a out of 5 stars in the chat and let us know how you felt about this book with your rating, and then we'll say our ratings to each other. I guess it's that time.
So excited.
Should we do a synopsis before we do ratings, or?
Oh yeah, I guess.
I know. Maybe.
Okay, I'll take that on because I never do it and I always force someone else to do it. So, okay, A Twisted Love Story by Samantha Downing is a thriller about twisted love. We're following Wes and Ivy and their tornado of drama. So much so that other people get pulled into their whirlwind, as well as other people jump in willingly. And how it's all about how their chaos affects those around them. One of those being a detective who becomes involved and learns things about them. And now they have to work together and come together, even though they're incredibly toxic, to come against a common enemy before the secrets of their past are revealed. I think that's kind of what the synopsis says. It doesn't tell you like the major plot of the book itself. It's just vaguely like Wes and Ivy are bad together. Something happened. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do
Interesting.
you want to
What
get
we
into
got?
ratings? Okay, I need to find out Deja's rating because I kind of have an idea of Gabby's because somebody, I was doing reading sprints and someone was like, Gabby didn't like it. And I was like, oh, damn, I love going into these live shows not knowing. So at least I can be surprised by Deja's. I feel like it's going to be a 1 or a 5.
No, it's a 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a 3.
Do you have a
It's a 3.
spoiler-free explanation of why?
Okay, it kept me entertained. I was very much entertained, but it's not anything different. It's nothing new. It's just kind of basic and average, I feel, but I was having a good time.
It's fair. Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
All right, I gave it a 2, and I think a 2 is a little bit generous.
Okay.
Mhm.
For me, I think this should have been a drama. I think should have been general fiction. I don't think the thrilling and mystery thing should have been in the synopsis, and then maybe it could have been like an interesting reveal for like those who love general fiction but want it to be a little bit juicier. Because I was perplexed by the plot at most of the time. I didn't know why we were reading what we were reading or why I was supposed to care about any of it. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah,
Gabby?
I've also been torn between a 1 or 2 star rating, but I'm leaning more towards 1 star because I had the same feelings where I was like, okay, every scene that I read, I was like, why do I care? I don't. What's going on? Why is this marketed as a thriller? Like, I was just so confused most of the time. And I don't know, I never thought the characters were that interesting. It felt more just like reading a very dramatic toxic romance, to be honest. I don't know. And it was like I was kind of confused because while I was reading, I was like, when is the mystery or thriller aspect even really introduced? Because I personally felt like for the first 200 pages, it was kind of just like couple toxic things happening, and I was just kind of like, what? Like, there's no motive to like keep me intrigued. Like nothing's going on. So I don't know. It was kind of a bust for me. Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into spoilers, let's talk about our past with this author.
Yeah. So I guess I would love to know, have you read this author's books before? How do these compare? For me personally, I think I've read everything from this author except for her novella. I haven't read the novella.
Oh yeah, I forgot she had a novella.
Yeah, but I've read the 3 previous books, the My Lovely Wife, He Started It, and For Your Own Good, and those were all 4 or 5 stars for me. So that's why I can't be more shocked that this happened.
Yeah, I've only read My Lovely Wife, and I gave it 5 stars, but I read it hella long ago, like before my channel existed. So I feel like I can't even compare it because I was literally like a child when I read it. So no, because I was literally like probably like 16 or 17, had to have been. So, but I remember really liking it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a lot of people, this was their first, which totally makes sense because for me, I think of Samantha Downing as somebody that I read a lot and I talk about a lot. And so, like, in my mind, everyone has, but I guess that's not really true. So it's unfortunate to me that I made everybody read this for my book club personally because this is not a good introduction to her. My past with Samantha Downing, I give every single book of hers 4.5. They're all so close to being a 5. So when I picked this, I was like, this is going to be the moment. We're all going to give it a 5. We're all going to have so much fun. So looking at the poll results, it looks like 33%. So a third of the people here gave it 3 stars. 30% gave it 2 stars. 17% gave it 1 star or DNF'd it, and only 18 gave it between a 4 and a 5. So I think this is the worst book club selection of the year, which is not what I expected at all. It also bums me out because like Samantha Downing is she's such a supporter of the book club. So like talking about this makes me feel so bad because she's an author who regularly engages and is so supportive. Like we're mutuals. And so coming on here and being like, it sucks. Like, you all didn't read it. So I just want to say like her other books are so good. I loved them. And
Yeah.
if this was your first time, I would really recommend reading some more. And part of me feels like maybe this was her moment to do something a little slower and more dramatic. And she's going to come back with something truly unhinged next. And then we'll love it again. Because For Your Own Good was that. And I would definitely still recommend her stuff. And I would read her again. As far as that question goes, hopefully you all agree that you would read more from her.
Yeah, I think so too. That's why I was so surprised by this book because it felt very different from her other stuff, in my opinion. And I guess it was mainly because it felt a little bit more romance heavy than her other books. Like,
But
I don't know.
Romance heavy, like give us some sex or something.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been that too. It could have been like a romantic thriller, and that would have been so fun. I don't read a lot of that, and I feel like I was itching for that. I was like, well, you could have like made us really see them together, but you didn't.
Yeah, I know, it was very dry.
Okay, do we want to get into spoilers now? So everybody who hasn't read it can hop out. I think a good place to start is like just something you liked, and then after that, something you didn't like, just to establish some positivity.
Yeah, as I said, it can be really entertained because I've been in a reading slump, as I said, and I listened to the audiobook in like 2 days, which was that's really impressive for how my reading's been going. It just kept me, I was like, okay, the tea, it's what's going on. I wanted to know what was going to unfold, even though I feel like, as you guys said, it really wasn't that thrillery. There wasn't like that many twists and turns, but I was still intrigued.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I think.
Oh, what did I like? What did I write down? Oh, you know what I wrote down? I wrote down that like the podcast element was something fun and funny to slide in, because I do like when authors are self-aware, like they're aware of like other entertainment things. And so like the joke of, the man who starts a podcast, but like really has nothing interesting to say. And like, we need to stop selling microphones to people. I feel like that was a really fun element because you got to meet like Milo later in the story. And he was just like this guy with a microphone. And then the ending where he's like doing a podcast episode, that's probably like one of the only things that really was interesting to me throughout the book. So that's my answer. Also, like, I don't want to say this book isn't bad. Like, it's not unreadable. It's not harmful. It's not like problematic. So I wouldn't dissuade anybody for those reasons. I think that's why I'm not giving it a 1, is because I feel like a 1 implies that it was like, did something wrong. It didn't. It was just like uninteresting.
Yeah, I know. I think the main reason why I am giving it a 1 star is because I don't really have anything positive to say about it, and that's usually a big sign to me that like it didn't do anything wrong, but it felt like it wasted my time, and like I would have just DNF'd this if it wasn't like me reading it for the book club. But I think the only thing I really liked about it was that the characters' names were Wes and Ivy. Like those are 2 of my favorite character names like ever, and I was like so excited because I was like, those are so cute. But then that's it. That's about it.
Okay, we liked the writing. Oh, Tanya liked the cover.
Yeah, the cover's cute.
Exactly. Easy to read, held your interest, kept you entertained. It's really just the cover, hey?
Yeah.
The writing was not bad. That's an interesting way to say it. It was a 2. It was a 1.75. Okay, good to know the audiobook was good.
Yeah, the audiobook was pretty good.
Did it have multiple narrators?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, cool. Oh, I also don't like the cover. I didn't want to say it out loud.
Oh, I like the pink. The pop of pink is a thing that I like, but that's about it.
Okay, now it's rant time. I'm so sad there. Like, I always like having somebody who loved it and somebody who hated it in a live show, so we can really get that like joy. So let's really like everybody in the comments. If you loved something, please let us know, and I will go through them all. But what's something that you liked about it, or something you didn't like? Sorry, we just did the like. Something you didn't like because it's time to rant. Because I mean, a lot of people did not like it. So if you want that moment.
Yeah, I feel like I saw this in the comments a little bit. It didn't go far enough. Like, if you're gonna write a toxic romance, go for it. Like, I want Maddie and Nate from Euphoria. I want someone holding a gun to their head or someone else's head. I want something dramatic because this book didn't even have that much twists or thrillers or anything like thrilling going on. That was the whole main point. And if you're going to do that, I need you to go for it. And
Yeah.
I needed to be really crazy. And it just really wasn't that crazy. I feel like they were just so like petty. Like they could have done so much more to each other that would have been so much more interesting. And yeah, and then also a lot of it, I was like, why was this here? Like, I don't remember her name, but the whole assistant that we got the perspective of, I was like, why? Like,
Yeah.
what? There was no point. There literally was nothing. I feel like she just didn't go for it the way that she needed to, and it was sad.
Yeah, I would agree with what you were saying about how the point of views kind of felt random sometimes and like just too much explanation for things that I didn't care about. Like even with the detective, I feel like we got so much of her backstory and just like what was going on in her family and with her son. And I'm like, why would I like I don't care. Like who is this? Like what do you mean? Like it's not even about like her really, it's about Wes and Ivy, but then even Wes and Ivy, I just didn't really care about them as characters. And I don't know, I mean, I don't think I really enjoy reading thrillers where like the main kind of thrilling thing happening is around a couple who's really toxic. I think that's just a trope that I just don't really care for, I guess, in my thrillers because it was just like there was nothing motivating me to want to continue to finish it, I guess.
No, literally, they were not that awful. Like, please.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why
yeah,
it just wasn't thriller to me. It was just like a drama. It was like these people they're clearly toxic. They clearly shouldn't be together and should stop getting back together. But like where was the drama? What my main gripe is how it was so melodramatic when nothing was happening. Like there were these what seemed like cliffhangers or reveals at the end of so many chapters that meant nothing. And I kept
yeah,
rereading them. There's one that I tabbed specifically where we're following Karen, who's the detective who's trying to figure out what happened in Wes and Ivy's past, which spoiler is that they like accidentally hit someone while he was
Like,
sleeping in his
bro.
car and he died. Like,
yeah,
who
like
cares?
7 years ago. Like, okay.
So but this chapter talking about Karen is like I thought she learned something because it goes she's looking around at all the pictures on her wall. She turns to the right and looks at the other pictures in the room. One hangs on the wall, the only photo in a frame, her husband, her late husband. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
It literally doesn't mean it feels like such a moment, but like
yeah,
you just told us her husband's dead. That
yeah,
literally was not a reveal. It doesn't lead to anything. Why do I care?
yeah,
It was so random. And then another one ended, and it was like, we're following Ivy, and she turns and reaches out for the door handle. Behind her, she hears Milo's footsteps moving closer. And then in the next chapter, she's just driving, and he's not there, and she escaped him. So I was like, why did you make it so suspenseful? And then the next chapter, she's like, fine. Like,
yeah.
what was the point? It was so confusing.
Yeah. And I also feel like they were like high school toxic. I had to keep reminding myself that these are grown adult people because I was like, there's no way. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, this is literally like high schoolers. I wanted somebody to take the other person's grandma's ashes and bake it into something and then feed it to them. Like, I wanted something crazy. And she just didn't do that. Like, I feel like I see more toxic things like on a little Instagram post or on TikTok than what was in this book. I'm like, you could have
Yeah.
just scrolled for a little bit and found something better.
That's what I'm saying. Like their conversations felt so high school. Like when there was that whole paragraph where she was like saying how she told him that she finds guys with beards hot, but she hopes he doesn't grow one because then
No,
he'll be
the
nice
beard
and
was
robot.
And then
Like
she
what?
talking about it, she was like, I knew I should have never trusted a guy with a beard. I was like,
I know.
what is wrong with you?
like, what's up with the beards?
I was so confused. I was like, why? What? Huh?
Okay,
Oh
didn't
man.
like the big secret. If someone was killed because of their toxic relationship, it should have been something crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Literally.
It should have gone, yeah, sexy thriller direction. That would have been better. I just think maybe she didn't know what she wanted to do with it. I don't know. And then at the end, like neither of them betray the other. They just like run off into the sunset together. And
Yeah.
maybe
That's
it's
what I
setting
mean.
itself up for a sequel.
Oh, I hope not.
It's crazy. I would not read that.
That's what I mean, because like the beginning, in the first 200 pages, if I'm remembering correctly, the only like intense thing that happened was that scene, right, where Bianca like had that sexual assault from that guy in the office. I can't even remember what his name was, and then she like killed him, and then it was like
Tanner.
self-defense, right?
No,
Yeah,
that
and then
was tea.
yeah, but I was also like, I was confused because I was like, this isn't even happening with the main characters. This is like a
Yeah.
side thing going on, and I was confused. Like, am I supposed to care about this situation? Like, is this the mystery of the book? But then it was like, it just got like, oh, it was self-defense, and then there was a funeral, and then it just like moved past it. So I was like, wait, what's going
Nothing
on?
ever
Like,
happened.
I know.
What
I
was
was
the
like, so
point?
what?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what was the point of that whole situation then? Because like, it didn't end up mattering very much going
I feel like
forward.
that is like the main plot of a lot of thrillers nowadays, which is great because they're like bringing awareness to assault and, you know, the whole Me Too movement and sharing, you know, unsafe workplace practices and like bringing light, shedding light on all of these things is so great. And so like maybe she wanted to do that, but just make it a side story so it wasn't just like every other book out there. But then like what was the point of it? Because it's not like we found out. I just feel like nothing was tied together. It was so confusing. It was like, okay, so this person got assaulted. We're going to find something out. Wes saw it happen. Wes was responsible for it. Ivy had something to do, but no, nothing ever.
It wasn't cohesive.
Yeah, and it made the tone of the book feel weird because that part felt very serious to me, and I was like, oh shit. But then it immediately got kind of like silly and toxic with the couple and what, you know, it was just kind of, the tone was like all over the place in my opinion.
I really wanted somebody to throw hands and nobody did, except for her. Nobody was throwing hands. Like, I was like, we really just gonna, okay, like talk about beards and that's it. Like, please.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess next question would be, how did you feel about following so many characters? Did you have a favorite, someone you wish you saw more of, or like, how did you feel just about getting so many point of views in a story that's just essentially about the two leads? Like, did you feel like we needed all of those point of views?
So I honestly, I don't think I minded it because I read a book right before this. I can't even remember what it was because I didn't like it. But The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard. I read that one and I did not like that one. And I was confused the whole time. I was like, who am I reading from? And that never happened in this book. So I appreciate that. But I didn't care about any single person in this whole entire book. But I feel like that happens to me sometimes in thrillers a lot, unless it's like a really emotional thriller where I'm just here for the story. I don't really care. I did like Bianca because I wanted to know what happened with her. I wanted it to tie in, and it never tied in. Like, she literally just fell off the face of the earth. Like, what was going on?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Ivy and Wes were fine. Wes, actually, he was not fine. Wes was annoying. I did not like that man. Ivy was fine, but I really. Oh, also the detective. I like detectives, but I did not like her because I feel like she was like, oh my God, like Ivy's in an abusive relationship. She can't escape. And I was like, Ivy's just as bad. Like, you don't even know. You don't even know all the details. And I was like, okay, girl, like, this is not really your business. Mind your business and do your job. Because you're not even doing this on paid time. You are just.
She was so committed to it being abuse.
Yeah.
And I was like, girl, I mean, it is, but like both sides.
Yeah. She was making a lot of assumptions just because of the stalker thing at the beginning, which
Yeah.
also ended up not really playing out much in the story at
Wasn't
all.
even Wes. Wes was minding his business, actually.
I assumed, oh my God, I assumed the whole book that Ivy had just sent the flowers and chocolates to herself because she was
I thought that
taking
too.
I don't know if I was supposed to think that or what, because once it was revealed that it was her best friend, I was like, again, who cares at this point? Like, it didn't amount to anything. So, like, why does it matter that it was him? It was like, that was the last chapter, really? The last thing that we get, this big reveal that feels like nothing?
Yeah. Well, and Heath's character, like the best friend dude, wasn't he not even introduced until like more than halfway through? Because then as soon as he got introduced, I was like, oh, he's the stalker. Come on. Like, her best dude friend. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's great. You know, like, I was like, come on, man. So
I think the only reason that I didn't think it was him was because I might have mistook him for another character because Karen was talking about her son, and I know her son was gay. And so then when it talked about Heath, I think for some reason I was like mixing the two. So I didn't even consider that he was in love with Ivy and was stalking her. So I was surprised by that, but I also didn't care. So
yeah.
I don't know my opinion. If there were too many, like I liked following the amount of characters. I just don't think that we, I guess, got enough time with any of them to care about their storylines. Like, obviously, the whole point is that you're supposed to care about Karen, and that's why it tells you about her husband who's dead and her son who she doesn't see very often. Because then when she dies, or whatever the fuck happened to her, she got hit by a car. Did she die? Do we know?
I don't know. Like, her and Abigail, I had no idea if they actually died at the end.
Yeah, and then Abigail, okay, the one scene that I can't stand is when Bianca was like blackmailing Abigail. And she was like, well, I found your Instagram account and you're following this guy and I know that you're sleeping with him. And so now like you need to be in with me on this ruse to take down Wes and Ivy or whatever the fuck the goal was. And then Abigail was like, I don't actually care about that guy. And like, I'll just work with you. And I was like, if somebody came to me and tried to blackmail me and then it didn't work, I wouldn't be like, oh, sweetie, what are you going through? I'll help you out. Like, she just tried to blackmail me. That whole dynamic was very strange.
And it was
Mhm.
the way that Karen got hit on accident.
Right.
Like, for real?
He
Like, why
Yeah.
is
couldn't
everything
take
an
her on purpose.
accident? Make it purposeful. Like,
Mhm.
what?
That's what I
Uh-uh.
mean. Like it's like that she was trying to go for unhinged, but she didn't really want to like go there with the character. So it was like, oops, it's an accident.
Y'all are making me want to give this 2 stars. I'm not even gonna lie.
No, I don't want to talk you down.
I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, because I mean, I was entertained, so it's not a 1 star. But like, what was the point? Even with that guy, you know how she went on the date with, or she wasn't at the date. She met that guy at the bar and posted a picture with him and tagged him, and then the girlfriend was mad. What was the point?
Yeah, I
What
know
was the
that whole
point?
part too. I was like, what is going on?
And then
What was
like
the point?
Clarissa was pissed, and we were 2 pages later. I was like, "Who's Clarissa? Why are
Yeah.
you here?"
I honestly, someone said in the chat that I should rewrite this book, and honestly, I think I could do a good job.
You should.
I really think I could
You
because
should.
the things that I could write, like up
Mhm.
here, is crazy. So I could.
Yeah. Just make it juicier.
Samantha didn't. She didn't know, and I'm sorry, but this is gonna sound out of pocket, but this is the most white relationship I've ever read because what is going on? Like, there's no way. Like, this is so petty. I'm sorry, black people would never do this. Somebody throwing hands, we're going outside, something's happening, someone's getting shot on purpose, something's happening.
You're not
Like,
gonna
there's
just
no
spread
way.
candy all over somebody's couch and make them
Yeah,
sad.
there's no way that it's just gonna be like, I told him that I like men with beards, but I hope he doesn't grow one. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
No black
What?
person is doing that. Like, this is so white dramatic people.
Yeah, we need
Mm-mm.
Deja's final cut. That's what we need.
Yeah, like I
It was
wanted a psychological thriller in this, like everybody's thoughts and they're stupid. So
Yeah.
I feel so
no.
bad for anybody who gave this a 5 who's here and they're like,
I know, I'm so
"This
sorry.
is my favorite
Oh
book."
no.
I'm so sorry.
sorry.
It's just I really could think of a better I honestly think ChatGPT can write better. Like a better, more dramatic plot.
Maybe she did.
Because actually I will say ChatGPT doesn't like to go too far. It's like harmful content. So then I feel like honestly this is like censored. But like what editor wrote that or read this and was like cohesive, publish it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
what predictions did you have? Obviously, we didn't like where the story went. So like what did you think was going to happen? I think my only main prediction was that Karen was going to die. So I guess now the fact that you're telling me she actually didn't, now I'm mad. I definitely didn't predict they were going to just like end up together in the end. What else? Honestly, the death is pretty much exactly what I thought. I was like, it's going to be something stupid, like it was an accidental death, and then it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess those were my only predictions because there really wasn't any mystery.
There was
Yeah.
I think the problem is there was no malice. Nobody was malicious.
Yeah.
You're gonna write a thriller and nobody's malicious.
Like,
Everybody's
oops,
just
somebody got hit by a
accidentally
car.
killing people.
Oops.
Like, oh, I hope that he doesn't grow a beard. Oh, I'm gonna eat a steak because he doesn't like red meat. Like, please be for real. The steak is crazy. Like, come on.
Like
Yeah.
poison him or something.
Yeah.
That literally would have been better.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If Ivy would kill Wes at the end, that would be like something shocking. Because I feel like this book could only end in so many ways, right? It's like they're only either gonna end up together, they're gonna end up betraying each other in some way, or they're gonna die, right? Like there's no other way really that the story could end.
I wanted them to go on a killing spree.
Yeah, like I know, like pull a whole like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, and like actually start killing people and going crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they were
when
that
just
would have
like,
been more.
we're on
Yeah.
the run.
And then Wes like escaped his. That part was so silly too because it was
How
like
he
was
cut off
arrested.
that ankle monitor and then
And
dipped
the
that quick.
next page, his ankle monitor's off. I was like, can you
Yeah.
let us sit in any of these scenes? Like nothing matters because the next scene, everybody's like out of the situation. And as soon as he escaped, I was like, okay, this is the moment. It's finally going to go off. Like he's going to do something crazy. And then it was just
Yeah.
like, no, he's just hanging out with a couple girls and like.
I know, and like that last scene with him and Abigail, to my understanding, he just like hit her with the gun or something, and then he didn't shoot her or anything, right? So did Abigail
Yeah,
die?
they shot him.
Oh,
One
they
of them shot him, and he hit her with a bat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He hit her with the
Oh,
bat.
yeah, the bat.
And he's like, I don't know if she's alive or not. Like, what?
I'm not gonna lie, in my community and crime class that just started last week, we had to do introductions. And the question that our professor asked us it was, if you could commit any crime and get away with it, what would it be? And that conversation was a lot more interesting than this book.
I bet.
No, it was a really good conversation. I said
Yeah.
arson, if you wanted to know.
Oh.
Arson and money laundering.
Yeah, I'm definitely making money if I'm going to
Yeah.
commit a crime. I'm going to be
Yeah,
rich
money
by the end of
laundering.
it.
But like, arson sounds kind of fun. I'm not gonna commit arson though. I promise. I promise.
Maybe this is set up for like a spin-off. So we get like a what were their names? Abigail and Bianca spin-off one day where they're doing something crazy. Because Bianca was the only interesting character just because she was like a super sleuth. Like she was on the internet every second of her life because she wants to know everything about everyone.
But
And
that's
I relate.
real. That's real. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. That's felt.
Give us a Bianca book and make her go truly unhinged.
I spent so much of the book wondering, like, why is Bianca so obsessed with these people? And it's like, after you find out why, I was just like, okay.
Yeah, you dated the guy who got hit by a car. How long ago was that?
I know. That's why I was like, that feels kind of weak to me. It should have been like, I don't know, something more interesting. And like the fact that the car accident was like 7 years ago or something like that. I'm like, and it was not that dramatic. It was like they just hit a car that was on the side of the road or something. Like it wasn't even like, I don't know.
And
I
why
thought
was he sleeping in the car on the side of the road in the city is kind of crazy. You would kind of ask me why because like someone could just I would never think that like someone would hit my car and I would die, but like someone could have popped that window, boom, you kidnap, you done for. Like why would you do that? It's men. It's men. They don't no thoughts.
Drunk, just doing his best.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Even the main thing of that, I was like, I need more from this. It just felt so not as dramatic for a book that relied on just dramatic things to be interesting.
You're so right.
I don't know.
Honestly,
Yeah,
this is really a 2-star book. You're right.
I guess we went over the ending. Like, how did you feel about them being together in the end? I would have been fine with it if we saw them, if we really got evidence of them being in love and like, if we got to see them like lusting over each other. I mean, honestly, if we got sex scenes, I probably would have been better about like, okay, well, they're off. I can't imagine how crazy their life's going to be. But the fact that Ivy got more and more like normal throughout the book, they just sounds boring now. Like, okay, they're together. I don't care about either of them.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that they were like in love. I think they just like attention and they were feeding off each other's attention. That's the only reason that they kept going back to each other, which is real. Like I get it, but this is a book. This is not real life. This honestly, you know what it felt like real life. Like it felt like this could actually happen and there was no drama in it. That's like the problem. Like if this is a book, make it big. This didn't go big. Like my friend could tell me this happened to her aunt and I'd be like, yeah.
This
Makes
is
sense.
neighborhood drama. This is not.
Yeah, exactly. But I need more. Like I listened to this like podcast that was like it wasn't true crime, but it's like a lady who has people on that tell their stories. And this one lady, her life was literally a lot crazier than this. And this is a book.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean too. And because like this book relies so heavy for us to care about this romance, but I feel like the romance was just so underdeveloped.
It was so lackluster.
Like, like we could have had a scene of like a flashback of Wes and Ivy meeting and like, some of their early days, maybe like just anything to make us care more about them as a couple,
Yeah, then suddenly it was like 6 months later. And I was like, what do you mean 6 months later?
I feel like it could have been like all we ever saw was them being toxic, which is fine, but it wasn't even that toxic is the problem. But then also is like we didn't ever see them like in love enough where we would root for them. Like if you're toxic and you're doing all this mess and like everybody's against you, the police are against you, and you run off together, I'm like, okay, period. Like even though y'all were causing a ruckus, you look at you, you're off together, yay for y'all. But I didn't even care. I was like, okay, they survived.
I'm so sorry I'm covering your face. This
It's okay.
this is the comment. What if Joey had been dead before they hit the car? What if like Ivy had already killed him and she was trying to cover it
alcohol
up?
poisoning.
Ooh.
Alcohol poisoning?
That would have been great.
That would have been way more interesting.
And I'm sorry that one guy that was like, yeah, the print on the car from the dent is the same as the headlight. Like I know like people actually do that. Okay, I'm in forensic science class, but at the same time, this crusty dusty man got to bring out this magnifying glass like this. I wouldn't trust him. He old. He not even working no more.
Yeah.
And like they tied it together because like one of the women found like a sticker that it like helped them park, and I was like, this is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's like from 7 years ago. This is so far fetched. What I wish also would have happened was that they went more into like that strip club aspect because I feel like that could have been interesting. Something could have
Mhm.
happened at that strip club, but they were like, "Oh, she worked there for one day. They had a little tussle outside. Boom, hit the car, done." Like
Yeah. I
we
so
could have
agree.
had
I forgot about that whole part.
we could have had more in the club. That would have been interesting
Yeah.
to see like the strippers and like what they
Totally.
have going
The
on.
dynamic.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Especially
but
because
no.
Karen, like the detective, was like, oh, she was looking at all the police filings for that day. And she was like, oh, there was a domestic disturbance at the strip club. That's unusual. I was like, is it?
It's
I know.
not. It's
Wouldn't
really
that be
not.
completely normal? Because like everybody knows that people get super jealous when women in their lives have like are sex workers. Like, let's get
Yeah.
into that. Like, let's delve into that more and how
Yeah.
harmful that is. But no, it's just like, no, she was there for one day and he got sad. And
And it was the
Yeah.
way she told him that she was gonna start working at the strip club, and he was like, "Pfft, like I don't believe you." I'd be
Yeah.
like, no, like I'm going. Like, what do you mean you don't believe me? How he don't believe her?
Mhm. Well, and two, I thought the whole reason why, because I thought it was unrealistic that the detective would care so much about Wes and Ivy as a couple and dig into their past in the first place. Because I was
It
like,
was
the
so
only yeah, right, because I'm like, the only thing she had was that Ivy said she felt like Wes was stalking her or something. So then it's like she just took that so like passionately. It's like, I'm gonna find out everything about their past. And I was like, wait, why? Like that just seems so unrealistic to me that she would waste her
yeah.
time doing that.
And then even so, she was like, I have 30 other cases that I'm trying to
Yeah.
work on.
right? She's
Like,
like, I'm calling
girl,
10 people today.
like I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I'm like,
sure there's something more interesting going on in one of those cases than this.
yeah. And I'm
Right.
like, why would this be the priority then? Like, just drop it then.
And like why would nobody consider the fact that she could have been the one driving the car? Like why did nobody ever consider that? Like it wasn't ever a thought in Karen's head. Like she put all these pieces together, these random pieces from this car they pulled out, whatever, had this man look at it, but she never thought to herself, I wonder who was driving the car. Like, and then now you
Mhm.
trapping the girl that you thought was in an abusive relationship in prison.
Mhm.
Honestly,
Mhm.
I would
Jumping
have
a lot of
loved
conclusions.
I would have loved to see Ivy go to jail and get her ass whooped. Oh, I'm sorry, I cursed. But I would have loved to have seen that. And that should have been the epilogue, is her getting her ass whooped in jail. That would have been really fun.
Oh my gosh. That would have raised it a star. Yeah, so to wrap up, I guess, the live show, we would love to know if you had any books, movies, or TV shows you would recommend if you enjoyed this book, or maybe
A
instead, like
better version.
if you didn't like this book, maybe you should check out these instead or anything similar. Um, yeah.
Honestly, I was sitting at this question for a while because I couldn't think of anything. But a good, not I wouldn't say good, but a better portrayal of a toxic relationship, Euphoria. They have better ones in there, more
Yeah.
toxic, more dramatic, crazier, and they're teenagers and they're
Right.
doing crazier stuff.
Mhm. That's
I
true.
love that. I feel like the classics come to mind. Like, if you want
Yeah.
to read an actual toxic relationship, Gone Girl and The Kind Worth Killing are like the ones. They will always be like top tier, ridiculous husband wife drama.
Mhm.
But also, I was thinking just like recent ones I've read that if you do like all of the different characters and you like a detective based one, if you didn't read The Devotion of Suspect X with us for the book club, this is like a solid, just like really interesting and intricate building of a crime that's like actually interesting and the detective is solving it. And then I recently read Look Closer by David Ellis, which is like this messy marriage as well. But it has like actual twists, and there will be at least one thing in here that surprises you. So go into this
Yeah.
not knowing anything, but it's a long mystery that's really good.
That's such a good one. Look Closer is definitely one that I didn't think of, but that's a good one to recommend. And I think the ones that I would say, like, I think if you liked this book, I mean, I didn't like these books either, but if you liked this book, I think you might also like stuff from like Taryn Fisher or like Geneva Rose. I feel like those two
Oh,
authors are, yeah, they
Taryn
kind of have like,
Fisher could have written
The
this.
Perfect Marriage.
yeah,
I eat that book up.
that's what I mean. It's kind of like thriller, romance, kind of toxic drama vibes,
Yeah.
kind of similar to this. So I feel like if you like this kind of author, or if you like this particular writing style in this book, and the toxic romance intrigues you, then I do think you might like stuff from Taryn Fisher or Geneva Rose, or two that come to mind.
Yeah, because Geneva Rose
Um,
actually she blurbed it.
yeah.
Oh
That's why I was
yeah.
like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, no, she
So
blurbed it. But I feel like they honestly, even if you don't like this style of book, they still do it better. Because The Perfect Marriage had me on the edge of my seat. I was like,
Yeah.
every
Well, that's what
single
I mean.
page, I
I
was like,
would.
like, what's going on? This, no gasps.
Well, that's what I mean. Those books are a little bit more like juicy to me than like
And
this one
R.
was, because like yeah, this one was just kind of boring and dry. But I feel like at least those books like they were a little bit more entertaining to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes, if you're looking for some good recommendations, the comments are full of them. I feel like domestic thrillers are so
There's so many.
right. There's
Yeah.
so many. Like any would probably be better than this one.
yeah.
Any is crazy.
No. I've read a lot of bad domestic thrillers in my day, which is probably why I've moved further and further away from them over the years. So yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
all the recommendations. And thanks for everybody for coming out for these live shows. I'm so glad it worked and the comments actually kept up because we've had issues with StreamYard lately.
I
So
know. Yeah.
so glad this worked. And it's on both of our channels and everything's great. So thank you so much for to Deja for coming. And I'm sad Lexi couldn't come. I need to message her now and ask her what her rating was. What if she loved it and she could have been like that 5-star girl? Just
Damn.
praising it. Oh man. But thanks everybody for being here, and we will see you next time. Gabby, do you want to tell us what your book club pick is next month so everybody knows?
Yeah, so for September we'll be reading the new Alice Feeney. I don't have it in my hands yet, but it's
Okay.
the Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney. That one will be for September, which I'm hoping goes great because I've loved the last two Alice Feeney's, so I'm like, please. But we'll see.
And then for me, it's called Monstrilio. I can't even remember who the author is right now, but it's like a slower, darker literary horror. So
I want to
if
read
you're
that
into
one
that,
so bad.
oh my God, pick
Sounds
it up.
interesting.
Okay, so we will see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.